Good morning, friends. I want to extend a warm welcome here to you today. Everyone is welcome here. You are welcome here regardless of your age, your race, your income, your religion, or the gender with which you identify. You are welcome here regardless of who you love, who you vote for regrets that burden you, or the mistakes you have made. In this safe community, we support each other in the sacred task of becoming, celebrate the transcending mystery of life, and rely on the transforming power of love. Here, we revere the words of the great teachers such as Jesus, the Buddha, and Confucius. It is, however, the task of every you to be their own Buddha, their own Jesus, their own Confucius. It is the cornerstone of our religion that each of us is the author of their own life experience, and through the practice of loving kindness, we can heal our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and our planet. It is our work as a community to work with each other along the spiritual pathways that lead towards happiness, compassion, and a life fully lived. And while we are a safe harbor where there's solace and healing, we are also a launching pad from which we are propelled into the tumult of life to live courageously, justly, and lovingly. In this sacred place, we create the structures that lift up the downtrodden, set the captives free, and heal the brokenhearted. We have learned that to be fully human is to be fully divine, and with a little help from our friends, we can tell each other our unique story. Welcome this morning. Okay, my name is Liz Goodwin. I'm here today as the leader of the service. This is my first time, so please be patient. I'm here to introduce my nephews, Jimmy and Tony Licata. Just a short, brief introduction here. Our family grew up in Wilmette, Illinois, and every day for 18 years, my brother would look out his bedroom window and would see the Baha'i temple that was just a few short blocks away. We were raised Catholic, although none of us really vibed with that religious tradition. Eventually, we all found a different spiritual path. When my brother graduated college and eventually got a job out in Southern California with Jet Propulsion Labs, he discovered the Bahá'í Faith. He found that this tradition was true to his heart, and eventually his prayers were answered in the name of his beloved wife, Juliana. Jimmy and Tony are a product of that love and an amazing example of their family's commitment to the Bahá'í Faith. As both a family and individuals, they've shared their faith with thousands of people and groups, and the boys have been youth leaders for many years and have been playing music together since they were young children, and they continue to grow today. They've traveled extensively all over the world, sharing and caring in multiple Baha'i communities, performing service and sharing their love of music with youth and adults alike. I'd like to thank Buff for allowing me to share their talents and words with you today. They are wise beyond their years and a testament to living their spiritual path. I'd like to welcome Jimmy and Tony to Buff today. I hope that you I hope that you find that what they have to share to be meaningful and perhaps an opportunity to learn something new in your own life. Thank you.
O children of men, know you not why you created all from the same dust? That no one should exalt himself over the other. Ponder at all times and in your hearts how you were created. Since we have created you all from one substance, it is incumbent upon you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, eat with the same mouth, and dwell in the same land, that from your inmost being, by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest. Such is my counsel to you, O concourse of light. Heed ye this counsel, that ye may obtain the fruit of holiness from the tree of wondrous glory. Baha'u'llah.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? And how many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannon balls fly before the forever band? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
How many years can a mountain exist
before it is washed to the sea. How many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free?
Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, everybody, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times can a man look up before he can really see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Just you all. Come on.
The answer is blowing in the wind.
The answer is blowing in the wind. Thank you.
It was awesome, you guys. Thank you.
When Jim and Tony were singing, when they finished singing that song, Mikey turned to me and said, "That was great." So that was pretty good, you guys. But it does bring up the all the questions that we have. I mean, there's no question that we could create a world where no child is hungry, where no child is uneducated, where everyone has a place to live, and we are not turning our planet into a cinder. We could have a planet like that. We could have human life like that, where there was lots of flora and fauna, and we would not be an extinction event, as we are proving to be. But there is an answer to why we don't have a world like that, and the answer is we don't want it. We don't want to. We are much more attracted to our golden calves. So those questions remain, and thank you for bringing that to us. So it was very lovely. And I'd just like to say also thank you to Beth for designing this service. Beth is our new, Sunday service. Yeah, I knew that because I go to the meetings. So, so thank you, Beth. This is wonderful. I have shared with you before, one of the reasons I enjoy being a religious person is because of the oddness of life. Life is just too odd to be an accident. One of the oddest religions in the universe is Unitarian Universalism, in my mind anyway. UUs mostly believe that each one of us must find their own spiritual path through life. In a sense, each of us is a cult of one. Many UUs consider the world's religions to be collectively a spiritual smorgasbord for all of humanity. On any given Sunday, you may find us reflecting on any of the world's great religions. Today, with a little help from some of our friends, Liz and Jimmy and Tony, we will honor the beautiful and ancient religion of Jainism. This is the kind of stuff that happens here. You don't go down to the Catholic Church and expecting to see a Baptist speaking there. You don't go off to the Jewish synagogue, only some Jewish synagogues, and expect to hear a Muslim speaking there. But here we view all the religions as valid spiritual pathways, and not so much as history, but as art. Most of you may not realize this, but I am somewhat of an expert on Jainism. Ever since this Tuesday morning when I Googled it, what I found was, I thought, quite beautiful. I was drawn to the Mahavratas, the 5 vows of Jainism. The Mahavratas are a bit like the Christian Beatitudes and resonate with many of the great moral teachings of others of the great religions. I have put this meditation together with a heaping helping of my understanding of Jainism, with just a pinch of Unitarian Universalism to make my words more accessible. So let us now enter into meditation and draw inspiration from the 5 vows of Jainism, the Mahavratas. Please be forewarned that my pronunciations may be painful for some to hear. Please find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you are inclined, and take a deep breath in and out. Allow yourself to be fully present in this moment. As you breathe, bring your awareness to the principle of ahimsa, the vow of nonviolence. Imagine a gentle wave of compassion washing over you, filling your heart with a deep sense of peace and kindness. Reflect on the ways you can embody nonviolence in your thoughts, words, and actions. Still breathing, breathe in peace and compassion. Exhale slowly, letting go of any anger or resentment. As you continue to breathe, visualize sending love and kindness to yourself and to others. Embrace the idea that we are all interconnected, and through our actions, we can contribute to a more harmonious world. Now shift your focus to satya, the vow of truthfulness. Consider the power of honesty and integrity in your life. Reflect on the importance of speaking your truth with kindness and sincerity. Again, breathe deeply. And as you exhale, release any fear of judgment or rejection. Imagine a bright light illuminating your heart, representing your commitment to truth. With each breath, affirm to yourself, I am free to speak my truth with love and respect. Allow this affirmation to resonate within you, fostering a deeper connection to your authentic self. Next, bring your attention to asatya, the vow of non-stealing. Reflect on the importance of respecting the boundaries and possessions of others and the value of generosity in your life. As you inhale, draw in gratitude for all that you have been given. Exhaling, let go of any feelings of lack or envy. Visualize a sense of abundance surrounding you, knowing that true wealth lies in giving and sharing. As you continue to breathe, think of how you can give freely and joyfully, honoring the trust and resources shared with you. Now focus on Brahmacharya, the vow of chastity or fidelity. Reflect on the significance of healthy relationships and respect for yourself and others. As you breathe in, inhale the love and respect you hold for yourself. As you exhale, release any unkind thoughts or self-doubt. Visualize a circle of light around you, representing your commitment to loving relationship built on mutual respect and trust. With each breath, affirm, I honor myself and others with love and respect. Finally, bring your awareness to aparigraha, a vow of non-attachment. Consider the freedom that comes from releasing material desires and embracing simplicity. Inhale deeply. Invite a sense of peace and contentment into your heart. Exhale, letting go of any attachment or possessions or outcomes. Imagine yourself as a tree, deeply rooted in the earth, yet free to sway with the winds of change. With each breath, remind yourself, I am free from attachment. I am open to the flow of life. As we close this meditation, take a moment to express gratitude for the insights, and inspirations you've received. Imagine these principles as seeds planted in the garden of your heart, ready to grow and blossom in your daily life. Now take one more deep breath in and out. When you are ready, gently open your eyes, bringing this sense of peace and commitment into the rest of your day. And may the light of wisdom guide you, and may the spirit of love surround you.
Thank you very much for that lovely reading. I actually didn't know much about Jainism until now. We'll actually be speaking about the Baha'i Faith after this.
Oh my.
It was very lovely. Thank you. So this is a prayer oftentimes said in the Baha'i tradition. This is about gratitude and very much a lot of the things about detachment that you were just sharing about. And we put music to this about 6 years ago or so. And we have it online, and we've been very fortunate to play it in a bunch of different churches and all sorts of places of worship. Oh God, refresh and gladden my spirit. Purify my heart, illumine my powers. I lay all my fears in thy hands.
Thou art my God and my refuge. I will no longer be sorrowful and grieved.
I will be a happy and joyful being. Oh God, I will no longer be
Full of anxiety,
nor will I let trouble harass me. I will
not dwell
on the unpleasant things of life. Oh God, thou art more friend to me than I am to myself. I dedicate myself to thee, O Lord. Oh God, I will no longer be full of anxiety, nor will I let trouble harass me. I will not dwell on the unpleasant things of life. Oh God, thou art more friend to me than I am to myself. Oh, I dedicate myself to thee, oh Lord. Alrighty, good morning, everyone. I'm Tony Licata. This is Jimmy Licata. We are brothers, and in the Baha'i Faith, you're not born into a religion per se, but our parents raised us with a lot of these principles that I'm about to share. So one of the first principles of the Baha'i Faith is the oneness of God, and oftentimes the metaphor of God is something that's unknowable, so described as an unknowable essence, and that's similar to how a painting doesn't have the faculties to understand its painter. We as human beings aren't able to fully comprehend all the mystical nature that is God. But one way we do understand our Creator is through a succession of messengers or prophets, what we refer to as manifestations of God. Similar to how you see the reflection of the sun in a mirror. When you look at the mirror, you see the sun, but the mirror itself isn't the sun it's merely a reflection or manifestation of its light. And so, as Baha'is, we believe that there have been many prophets who reveal the same one message of God in different chapters, and that the spiritual teachings, such as the immortality of the soul, the power of prayer, the golden rule, are all common themes in these religions that stay constant. And it's certain social teachings that adapt to the needs of every age in which a prophet comes. So, for example, we believe in Moses, Buddha, Zoroaster, Christ, Muhammad, and then the latest two, am I missing some?
Jesus, Muhammad. And then there are also many that we don't have written records of.
That's true, there's many written records. But at least ones that have brought Krishna, that's the other one. And then the latest two, starting from 1844, a young merchant in Persia known as the Bab, which translates to the gate. He shook things up in Iran and created a new religion at the time. It was called the Bahá'í Faith, and it caused a lot of turmoil. Tens and thousands of Babis were killed by the government because they were questioning a lot of the traditions founded in the clergy, and a lot of things that, as we've been reading in these quotes here, questioning certain doctrines that were seem unfit for the times that we live in. So he brought some teachings such as the independent investigation of truth, which we see up here on the board as well. The idea that it's everyone's spiritual path, and there are no clergy in the Baha'i Faith, so it's incumbent on every individual to search for truth on their own and have a safe environment to do so. And then he also brought around this idea that science and religion are to be in harmony, and that if you only focus on science, then it becomes materialistic, and you may use those inventions for things like war. But if you neglect science and you just only focus on religion, it becomes superstition and fundamentalism. Another concept that he introduced very early on was the equality of men and women. And this is something that's very apparent today and still rings true in a lot of the community efforts that we work in. And soon after the Bab, as he was bringing in these revolutionary ideas, one of his followers, back years later in 1863, declared that he was the prophet that the Bab was foretelling, and he goes by the name Baha'u'llah, which means the glory of God. And for Baha'is, we see Baha'u'llah as kind of like the promised one who is to fulfill a lot of these prophecies, gearing towards this idea that one day we will have world peace. So we believe that Baha'u'llah has brought a blueprint that's meant for everyone to appreciate or listen to, regardless of what faith you come from, what race you come from, gender and all that. And so we kind of use a lot of these tools as a way to bring people together, regardless and without any pressure of proselytizing or conversion. I'm trying to think of maybe there's some other principles we can talk about before Jimmy reveals a little bit about some of the activities that Baha'is get involved in.
Covered a lot of the major ones, yeah.
Some new concepts that were talked about is the idea of eliminating all forms of prejudice, the need for a universal language at some point in the future. Yeah. It's about 5 minutes, so I'll give you the rest.
Yeah, we want to be respectful of time. Okay. So that's kind of the main framework of the principle. So I'm going to focus a little more on the community efforts, because the program today was talking about building community at the grassroots. So as Tony said, Baha'u'llah brought a blueprint of these teachings that we then use to inform our activities. And so what a lot of the Baha'is now are doing is there's something called the core activities. And these are essentially 4 different kinds of, I guess you can call paths of service, or ways that the Baha'is like to work in communities. So I'll start with devotionals. And these are devotional gatherings where people of any background come together and say prayers from any tradition. And how that has been using a lot around the world is it's been very helpful in bridging people from different religions to come together, because you're not there to try to convert other people to your religion. You're not discussing politics or anything. You're just there to bring the community together and pray together. And it's often through these gatherings of just bringing neighbors and people who might not have known each other before that you start to build organic relationships with people. And because you're praying and you're talking about spiritually elevated conversations, you're allowing yourself to be a little more emotionally vulnerable. And so you're building a genuine connection with people. You're not just talking about, oh, how was your day? What did you do? You're discussing more deeper things. And often these devotional gatherings after prayers will have a discussion on a certain topic. So we might talk about just any topic of people are thinking about. What were some of the topics we've been doing lately in the devotionals? Yeah. Just
racism.
Yeah, discussing prejudice in our community, how we address that, and so on. So as you build these organic connections, you start to see what are the needs in the community, what are people struggling with, where do they need help. And one area that a lot of Baha'is work with is there's children's classes, which is geared for kids 5 to 11, and the main focus is helping them develop spiritual qualities. So these would be considered virtues. So every week there'll be a lesson, art project, and various other things that help kids learn a spiritual quality like trustworthiness or justice or like humbleness, humility. And so that's with kids. And then as kids grow older, they start to go into an age called junior youth, which is ages 12 to 15. And that is probably one of the most tumultuous times for a person because you're no longer a kid, but you're not an adult. You're starting to question the world around you. You're starting to notice things that as a kid you didn't before. And so the Baha'is have something called the Junior Youth Spiritual Empowerment Program. And there we're working with kids, or not kids, they're junior youth. They're ages 12 to 15. And it's helping develop 3 main faculties, which is developing a moral compass, spiritual perception, which is the ability to look at the world around and see essentially the forces that are operating. So helping junior youth understand, like, you can't see materialism as a physical thing, but you can understand how it operates in society. And junior youth are one of the most targeted groups for advertisers. They know that they're susceptible and vulnerable. So helping junior youth understand that, or understand how prejudice manifests itself so that they can combat that and grow to be adults that aren't harboring that in their hearts. And then the third faculty that really helped them develop is the power of expression, being able to articulate your thoughts. Because junior youth have a lot to say. They notice a lot, but people don't want to listen to them. They see them as rebellious and or maybe they don't have the patience. Because again, they're still learning how to articulate themselves and people just don't want to listen to them. So helping them develop that faculty to clearly articulate their thoughts is very important. And then finally, there's study circles, which is a series of courses that youth and adults take, which helps develop both their individual. In the Baha'i Faith, there's this concept of the twofold moral purpose, that we develop our own spiritual growth and we contribute to society, and that these two are interconnected. They're not mutually exclusive. As we contribute to society, we develop our own skills and capacities, and as we develop our own skills and capacities, that better helps us serve society. So these courses, which are free and offered to anyone, you don't have to be a Baha'i, help develop those faculties, both on the individual level and the collective. And I do want to say that all of these activities are very much, they were started by the Baha'is, but in a lot of communities around the world, they're very much spearheaded and led by people who are not Baha'is. Because again, this isn't to convert people to become Baha'is. This is just service programs that we offer to the community for the community members to then become protagonists and take control themselves. My girlfriend, she's in Samoa, and she was doing a festival with a lot of these activities from the neighborhood. And of the 100 people who were there, only 4 people were Baha'is. So that's very much an example of the community taking charge and leading it themselves.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to end with a few quotes that kind of just sums up what we were talking about today. This quote is from Abdul Baha. He is the son of Baha'u'llah, who's the Prophet founder. And Baha'is look to him as a perfect exemplar of how to live out these teachings. He actually came to America in 1912,
And he essentially broke a lot of the segregation laws by having a lot of mixed meetings and encouraging the Baha'is to do away with racism at such a sensitive time in our history. And yeah, so this is something that he wrote in one of his talks, and kind of discussing about how truth, we're oftentimes looked to see the truth as light in many different lamps, and that we should be lovers of the light and not be so attached to the lamps themselves. All right, this says, the divine religions were founded for the purpose of unifying humanity and establishing universal peace. Any movement which brings about peace and agreement in human society is truly a divine movement. Any reform which causes people to come together under the shelter of the same tabernacle is surely animated by heavenly motives. Did you have your last quote? Which one? Which you have? The other one. You said you had one. House of Justice?
Yeah, that's this one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And then this is a quote from the Universal House of Justice, which is the Baha'i world's governing organization. And this just, this
House of Justice is.
Yeah, this just describes what the qualities that people who are doing these activities should have. So when they're referring to they in this, they're talking about people who participate in these activities. They say, they are committed to the prosperity of all, recognizing that the welfare of individuals rests in the welfare of society at large. They are loyal citizens who eschew partisanship and the contest for worldly power. Instead, they are focused on transcending differences, harmonizing perspectives, and promoting the use of consultation for making decisions. They emphasize qualities and attitudes such as trustworthiness, cooperation, and forbearance that are building blocks of a stable social order. They champion rationality and science as essential for human progress. They advocate tolerance and understanding, and with the inherent oneness of humanity uppermost in their mind, they view everyone as a potential partner to collaborate with, and they strive to foster fellow feeling even among groups who may traditionally have been hostile to one another.
Thank you very much.
The separation of spirituality from all that corrupts it, one would be money, how we address money and other things. Can you talk about that?
Great. So what's one actually unique thing about the Baha'i Faith is that what made it very popular also in the 60s in America is that Baha'is don't accept outside money. So at no Baha'i gathering will we be asking for any money. Actually, only people who are registered Baha'is can donate to the Baha'i Fund. And in that way, something like that within the community, it's seen more as like a privilege and something that is to support these activities, not something, it's more seen as a means as opposed to an ends. So just in all the great religions in the past, there's a big emphasis on eschewing materialism and greed and working towards using money to share. And Abdul Baha was also a person who established this idea of profit sharing in the 1800s and 1900s, where like everyone in a company per se should be sharing the wealth. You know, it's not just a few people. And then one of the major principles I left out was envisioning a future where the extremes of wealth and poverty are abolished. That's something that's very pertinent and that we see every day.
So what you brought up made me think of an idea I've had for quite some time. We're big in this country on individual rights, and individual rights are important. However, they sometimes come in conflict with community rights, society rights. And society and our communities, our neighborhoods should have rights too. I mean, it's the individual right to own a gun and possess a gun and stuff. Well, is that really good for the community? You know, everybody's running around with a gun in their pocket. I don't know if that's really a good thing. I mean, that's just one example of an individual right that conflicts with our community rights. So just got me thinking more along those lines.
That's great.
Yeah, one of the quotes says to prefer your brother over yourself. The idea is not just to be kind and be nice to people, but to be so humble that you're preferring people over to yourself. There's one instance where the Bab, when he was about to be imprisoned, he had no knowledge that he was going to be imprisoned, but he curtailed the journey for when the person who was going to put him in chains was to get to him. Like, let's say he was here and the person was coming to take him. He decided to meet him halfway and told him, like, I care so much about you, even though you're going to put me in chains, that I wanted to curtail your journey and that you can do with me as you will. But I wanted to show how much love I have for you, that the most minor inconvenience of having to travel this many miles, I'm willing to do that for you. So it's just those kind of things of always preferring other people.
Thank you for being here with us today. It's quite wonderful. I was wondering if we have kind of a habit here in our little community of reading and talking a lot. So I'm wondering if there are a couple of books that are more or less maybe contemporary, at least one would be contemporary, that we could get our brains around some of this that you can recommend.
Yeah,
And maybe can we put that in our newsletter? I'm sorry? Oh, okay, Leanne, you're online? Okay, thank you.
So what's really unique about the faith too is that all the writings, all the sacred writings were penned by the actual central figures and prophets and their family members who are authenticated as, the people to interpret the faith. So one modern book written by Baha'is that kind of details a lot of the principles is called Baha'u'llah in the New Era. That's one that's been circulated for the past maybe 60 years, if not maybe even longer, 80 years.
But there's definitely more modern.
Yeah. There's a lot of other ones like God Speaks Now, Baha'u'llah in the New Era. Those are like full-on books that talk about all the different principles. But if you want to get in touch with the sacred writings of the Baha'i Faith, there's a whole bunch. There's the Hidden Words is one that's from Baha'u'llah, and that's a lot about the mystical teachings, talking about kind of like small, short phrases that are affirmations that oftentimes you may read in the morning and evening. Another one, if you're interested in more of like a theological perspective, there's Some Answered Questions, or the Kitab, that's the Book of Certitude. And there Baha'u'llah goes and talks about certain quotes from the Bible and the Quran and a lot of different principles and reflecting on like the nature of, the existence of God, all the different prophets and certain questions that people would answer at the time.
Yeah. And then Some Answered Questions is Abdul Baha, so Baha'u'llah's son, talking to someone who visited him and
From the West.
From the West, because they were imprisoned in Akka at the time. And that talks about the Baha'i Faith with the perspective of a Christian asking questions. So it talks a lot about the station of Jesus,
Human nature.
The prophets,
all sorts of different things.
Resurrection of Christ, all of those different things. Yeah.
So something like Baha'u'llah in the New Era or Some Answered Questions are probably two go-to ones that I've seen people read that we love.
Go ahead, Joan.
Yeah, hi. So two things. I just wanted to say that wonderful job introducing the faith to everybody today, you two. And for those who don't know, the Baha'i Faith was originated in Iran. And if you're wondering why the Bab and Abdul Baha were imprisoned, there was a lot of persecution of Baha'is in Iran back in 1844, I think is when Baha'u'llah began the faith. And so that's why they were in prison, kind of like Jesus was hung from the cross. A lot of people did not want to hear. But one thing I wanted, and I used to be a Baha'i, that's why I know some of these things. But I wanted to say there's a lot of similarities between the UU world and the Baha'i faith, also particularly in the sense that each person is is in charge of their own understanding and path, and they take guidance from places, but it's not as though there are no clergy in the Baha'i faith, obviously, as you two said. But maybe you could explain a little bit more about how the readings and the teachings are used to guide one, when really it is our own path, as Liz started out saying, we each find our own inner source and inner spirituality and guide. Maybe a little more about that might be helpful, at least for me. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry, so just to clarify, you're asking like how we use those teachings and things to like guide us, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thanks, Jim.
So in the Baha'i writings, Baha'u'llah says that, asks us to read the writings every morning and evening. And the reason for that I found in my life is a lot of these things, even say like something like the hidden words, it can be very short aphorisms or phrases, but they kind of help recenter your thoughts. And what will happen is I'll read something in the morning, I won't think much of it, but I'll think, oh, it's nice. It could be something about like, let your heart burn with love and kindness for all who may cross your path. Something as simple as that. I'll go about my day and I'll run across a situation that tests me very much. And my first reaction would be to like get upset with this person or try to like say something, but then just randomly that'll pop back in my head and it'll just help me calm down for a second and realize, okay, being angry or getting upset at this person isn't going to change anything. It's just going to make the situation worse. Let me just treat them with kindness instead. So there's that on the personal level. And then on the more wider scale level, I mentioned the Universal House of Justice, and that quote I read is from a letter that they wrote to the Baha'is of the world, which kind of offers guidance on these activities that I was talking about earlier, how we move forward and go about doing them. And so all these activities are informed by and in light of these teachings of Baha'u'llah. So we can use these teachings on the individual level, but then also in terms of helping organize the efforts, because no matter what community you go in the world of the 8 or 9 million Baha'is in the world, they're all doing these same activities. They might be carrying them out a little differently because they have to reflect the culture in which they live in. There's no formula of saying you have to do it exactly like this, but there is a kind of a united framework of that we're all working towards a similar goal, and we accumulate experience and share that with each other, and then based on that accumulated experience, we continue to refine it. Again, all these activities are not set in stone as they are right now. Over the years, they continue to be refined and refined as we learn about what it's like working in a community at the grassroots level.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, hey, Guy, thank you. This was fantastic. And really sorry about getting the wrong religion there.
Oh, no.
But at any rate, for many UUs, and certainly not all, but for many, we also value things like the resurrection of Christ and the Moses bringing the Ten Commandments, those kind of things. But we don't see them as historical events, as artistic expression, the modes of expression of human consciousness. How do you guys see them? Do you see them as art, as we do, or do you see them as history, as many of the other religions do?
I think it's a blend, actually, of similar, because, for example, like the resurrection, like for us, we try to see, at least with these main prophets, there's lots of very enlightened people, but like of some of the prophets that we mentioned, we as Baha'is believe that they're actually one and the same from the same source. So like, for example, we think that Jesus is just as much as a prophet as like Muhammad or Baha'u'llah. So when we look at some of the things from his life, we do interpret it as history, but for some things like the resurrection, Baha'is believe that as not literal, and that was more metaphorical.
Because it was the church being resurrected after he died. Because the Christianity did not die with Jesus. It continued even after him with the apostles. And actually, I think Some Answered Questions talks a lot about that, the concept that, oh no, go ahead.
No, just go ahead.
Oh yeah. No, that miracles we believe that like these manifestations, they could perform miracles. However, the emphasis is not on the physical miracle itself. That's not the proof of their station, but rather and we weren't there. We physically weren't there. So whether it happened or not, we can't necessarily say, but what is the significance behind it? What is the lesson we can learn from it, and what is it symbolizing?
Yeah, just also Summer's question goes about like the symbolic and figurative language or metaphors, use things like Adam and Eve, we don't have like a literal things with like, creation, that those thousands of years, 6,000 years, whatever, or the 6 days are representative of not actual 6 days, but like millions and millions of years. And those so there's a lot of like non-literal interpretations of former scripture, if that's what you're asking.
Would you consider the God is the central symbol of your faith, and of many faith, most faith actually? Do you consider that to be metaphor, or do you consider that to be hard reality?
That is an incredible question. It kind of goes to the idea that at the end of the day, our comprehension of the divine is limited and will always be, because some kind of being that created time and space, we're bound by time and space. It's impossible to fully understand that. We do believe there's some sense of a hard reality that we know. We have, through our own investigation, at least Jimmy and I, we have an understanding that, this is the truth, this is existence. And we just see that our understanding of it is maybe limited. But yeah, I think...
So yeah, I think there's very much a thing of, yes, God exists in the Baha'i faith, but it's not in the traditional anthropomorphic sense. We have no ability to fully understand God's essence.
And then even when the prophets come, they're a manifestation of God in that they're reflecting the beauty or the light of God, but it's not like
But they are not God.
Yeah, we don't have photos of Baha'u'llah because we do not worship the messenger. It's only supposed to be a channel for the divine.
Very good. Thank you all. Did anyone else? Bruce, you were standing up. Did you want a question? Anybody else have a question? Well, thank you. I really appreciate you guys coming.
Thank you. So in the spirit of the oneness of religion, what we did for this next composition is we took some writings from the Quran, the Bible, and the Baha'i writings, and we put them all together to a kind of blues and gospel number we wrote, and it's called Fire, and it's about one of the main focuses of our faith, which is to dedicate our lives to service every waking moment. And so this is, you might recognize some of the scripture from the Bible. This was some of the chorus is what Christ said to his apostles before he died. This is call and response, so we're going to sing something and you repeat after us.
Now ye are even as the fire,
Ye are even as the fire
in the darkness of the night,
in the darkness of the night,
before the eyes of men.
before the eyes of men.
Let your light shine.
Let your light
Now together it
shine.
goes. Now is the time to serve. Now is the time to be on fire. Well, verily have we perceived a fire on the slope of Mount Sinai.
Remove not, O Lord, the festal board that hath been spread in thy
Name and extinguish not the burning flame that had been kindled by thine unquenchable fire.
Ye are even as the fire
Ye are even as the fire
in the darkness of the night,
in the darkness of the night,
before the eyes of men.
before the eyes of men.
Let your light shine.
Let your light shine. Now is the time to serve. Now is the time to be on fire. Where is the warmth of thy love, O fire of the worlds. Should all the servants read and ponder this, there shall be kindled in their veins a fire that shall set aflame the worlds. Now ye are even as the fire,
Ye are even as the fire
in the darkness of the night,
in the darkness of the night,
before the eyes of men.
before the eyes of men.
Oh, let your light shine.
Let your light shine.
Well, now is the time to serve. Now is the time to be. It's the time to be on fire. Yeah. Now is the time to serve. Now is the time to be. It's the time to be on fire. Yeah. Now is the time to serve. Now is the time to be on fire. Thank you very much.
It was awesome, you guys.
Be generous in prosperity and thankful in adversity. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbor and look upon him with a bright and friendly face. Be a treasurer to the poor, an admonisher to the rich, an answerer of the cry of the needy, a preserver of the sanctity of thy pledge. Be fair in thy judgment and guarded in thy speech. Be unjust to no man and show all meekness to all men. Be as a lamp unto them that walk in darkness, a joy to the sorrowful, a sea for the thirsty, a haven for the distressed, an upholder and defender of the victim of oppression. Let integrity and uprightness distinguish all thine acts. Be a home for the stranger, a balm to the suffering, a tower of strength for the fugitive. Be eyes to the blind and a guiding light unto the feet of the erring. Be an ornament to the countenance of truth, a crown to the brow of fidelity, a pillar of the temple of righteousness, a breath of life to the body of mankind, an ensign of the hosts of justice, a luminary above the horizon of virtue, a dew to the soil of the human heart, an ark on the ocean of knowledge, a sun in the heaven of bounty, a gem on the diadem of wisdom, a shining light in the firmament of thy generation, a fruit upon the tree of humility. Baha'u'llah.